Are you on medication for diabetes? Or someone you love is taking medication? What if you could reverse it and regain your health just by simple lifestyle changes? How would it feel to get your life back? Welcome to the Fabulous Health Show. My name is Terry Chrisman and I'm a whole foods plant-based nutritionist. And this show gives you the tools to help you obtain optimal health so that you can live a long, happy life and age with grace and vitality. I'm really hoping that this microphone's working today because there is a lot of background noise at the moment. I'm really hoping that it doesn't annoy you. So we'll just plow on regardless. I'm going live every day here on Facebook and on YouTube at Fabulous Health for the next 5 days. And that's at US 10 o'clock Central Time. After that, I load this show to all your favorite podcast platforms. Just head over to fabuloushealth.net, click on podcast, and not only can you binge watch all the old episodes on video, you can click on any of your favorite podcast platforms and you can sign up so that you can listen to them in the car, on your bike, while you're doing your housework, whatever it is. So thank you so much to everybody who's already done that. I really appreciate you. And I really appreciate hearing from you, reading your comments and replying to you. So thank you so much. Keep those comments coming, even if they're not live, even if you're not listening to this in November 2021, even if you're listening to this in, January 2024. I don't care. I'd love to hear your comments and I'd love to talk to you. Okay, a disclaimer for you. I'm a nutritionist. I'm not a doctor. This show is for educational and informational purposes only, and the information shared today is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease, and it should not take the place of personalized professional medical care. Please consult your primary care physician before making any changes to your diet. So let's get to it. Imagine if you could reverse your diabetes just by changing your diet and your lifestyle. No more medications, no more testing blood sugar. Imagine getting your life back. You can do it. It takes work, but it's completely worth it. And in fact, the new mayor of New York, Eric Adams, he did just that with him and his mum. You can go check out his story. Just look up Eric Adams in the internet and check out his story. He's just one of hundreds of thousands of people who've decided that enough is enough. They're not going to be held hostage by the food system and the medical system, and they're going to take their health into their own hands, under medical direction, of course, but regain their health and do it via diet and lifestyle. So let's talk about what is diabetes. Maybe you don't have diabetes. Maybe you don't even know what I'm talking about. Or maybe somebody in your family has diabetes and you don't actually know what that means for them. So there's 3 types of diabetes: type 1, type 2, and gestational. There's actually a type 1.5, but let's not even go there. That's just, too scientific for us now. Type 1 is where the pancreas doesn't make any insulin at all. That's the pancreas's job. The pancreas sits underneath your rib cage on the other side of the body. Anyway, it sits under I'm just thinking up things right now. The pancreas makes your insulin, okay? And if it's got damaged beta cells, then it doesn't make any insulin at all. Now, this can happen in childhood or as an adult. It could be viral or it could have a genetic cause. But what happens is it's an autoimmune issue where your body's own cells attack the pancreas, attack those beta cells and make them dead, inoperative, can't make any insulin, bang, type 1 diabetes. And then you've got that for life because there's no coming back from that. Once your beta cells are dead, you can't make any more. So gestational diabetes occurs in some pregnant women, usually in the second trimester, and usually it fixes itself after the baby is born, but it does require medical assistance and medical attention. But today we're going to talk about type 2 diabetes, which can be created via lifestyle choices. And I don't mean it's your fault. I mean, the world we live in is a diabetic world, meaning that there are so many things out there that are pushing everybody towards lifestyle diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, stroke, Alzheimer's. The world, the environment, the food environment that we live in is pushing us towards these diseases. And so what we need to do is we need to make a conscious decision to pull back from that, pull back from the advertising and all the stimulation that is around us 24/7, and take health into our own hands. So let's talk about the normal physiology of the body when it comes to processing our food. When we eat food with carbohydrates in it, these are broken down by enzymes into glucose molecules. All carbohydrates are lots of glucose molecules put together. Now, blood glucose, that's when the glucose is floating around in your blood, that signals to the pancreas for the beta cells to produce this hormone called insulin. Insulin gets pumped out into the bloodstream, and then its main job is to act as a key to open the door of the cells so that the glucose can go into your body's cells, like your muscle cells, and then the glucose is converted into a substrate called adenosine triphosphate, which is your body's energy source. So really, glucose is energy, and then it gets broken down and converted into ATP, which is the currency of the body. That's what the body uses. So what happens when you have diabetes? Well, when you have type 2 diabetes, your pancreas starts pumping out the insulin because it signals that there is blood glucose. There's glucose in your blood, high blood glucose. But then when it gets to the cell, the key doesn't fit in the door. And so then the glucose is flying around your blood, and that's where it can do the damage. So at the same time this is happening, your brain forgets to tell the liver to push out more glucose, because when you're not eating, you still need energy. Yeah, you don't run around the block when you're not eating. In fact, that's exactly when you do run around the block, when you're not eating. So your body needs this glucose all the time, and your liver stores it, and it stores it as this stuff called glycogen. And then there's a hormone called glucagon, and glucagon flies around your body and says to the liver, hey, you've got to push out some glucose because this chick's going to go for a jog around the block and she needs energy. So then the liver breaks down that glycogen and it converts it into glucose, and then off it goes into the cells, and it's all fantastic. But what happens is if you've got too much fat, then that fat can go into your muscle cells, and then you can't open that muscle cell to get that glucose into that cell. And not only that, you can get fat inside your liver, and then you can get fatty liver disease. So that's pretty yucky as well. The other thing that can happen is your mitochondria might decide that it just doesn't want to work anymore. So you get that glucose into the cell, and then the mitochondria goes, nah, I'm not going to produce any ATP. Forget that. So you can forget it. So then what happens? Then you can get hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia is really high blood glucose. And if left unchecked over the long term, this can cause damage to body organs, leading to the development of disabling and life-threatening health complications like cardiovascular disease, kidney disease, neuropathy, which can lead to amputation. That's when you can't feel your hands and toes. No thanks. Eye disease, retina disease, and leading to blindness. I don't want any of these things. Okay, so how do I stop this? Let's talk about what happens inside the fat. Excess body fat is dangerous because it causes an imbalance of hormones. And I mentioned that glucagon one. Remember, the glucagon tells the liver to release the glucose. Well, when you got excess fat, these inflammatory cytokines, they tell the glucagon to kick on, dude. Go tell that liver to release all that glycogen. Go tell that liver to make more glucose. Well, hang on a minute. Don't we already have high blood glucose already? So you're going to release more glucose from the liver? That sucks. Excess fat also increases inflammatory cytokines, and this puts stress on the pancreas and damages the pancreas beta cells. So not only are you pumping out tons of insulin, at the same time, you're damaging your beta cells. So in the long term, does that mean that you're going to have no beta cells and then you won't have any insulin? Once they're gone, they're gone. They're not going to come back. And if you have no insulin, that's when you have to inject yourself with insulin every single day. This sounds horrible, doesn't it? I don't want this to happen to me. Do you want this to happen to you? I don't think so. Excess body fat can infiltrate the organs, such as the liver, the heart, and the pancreas. This is called visceral fat. You know if you've got visceral fat because you don't have a waist. You tend to be kind of apple-shaped, small hips, skinny legs, and wide between your chest and your hips. That's all visceral fat, also apple-shaped. And this is really, really bad because this can cause widespread organ and tissue damage. There's another thing that can happen, and it does happen a bit more in type 1 diabetes, but that is diabetic ketoacidosis. So this is a state where there's no insulin in the blood, and the blood sugar rises so high that it changes the pH in your blood, so much so that a person can go into shock, you can get swelling of the brain, and you can have a heart attack. So as I said, it's more common in type 1 diabetes because type 1 diabetics don't make their own insulin. But if you have type 2 insulin-dependent diabetes and you don't manage it properly and you don't put that insulin into your body and you get high blood sugar, that can happen, and that is really, really bad. So added to this, I mentioned this a little bit before, diabetes can cause tissue damage, peripheral neuropathy, such that many diabetics require, I can't even talk, low limb amputation. No, thank you. That's horrible. Diabetes can cause urinary tract dysfunction, dry mouth by dysfunction of the salivary glands, which can lead to dental problems. Added to this, there's the psychosocial aspects of diabetes. And studies have shown that those with reduced coping mechanisms, including resignation of the disease and depression, have higher HbA1c, which is your historical blood glucose measurement, than those with a more positive outlook, and vice versa. If you have a more positive, proactive outlook, you're likely going to have lower HbA1c, which means you are managing your diabetes. So how do we fix it? More insulin, more metformin, more visits to the doctor, or do we try and reverse it ourselves? I know what I want to do. I want to reverse it myself. The first thing to do is reduce inflammation, because inflammation is the root of all disease. That sets up all those imbalances in those hormones, all those cytokines, no good for your body. Yeah, so how do you do that? You reduce what inflammation you take into your body. You reduce inflammatory foods such as animal products, processed meat, dairy, fried foods, processed foods, things in packets with more than 3 ingredients that you can't understand. You do not want to know about that. If you buy a packet of corn chips and it says ingredients, corn, salt, well, hey, they're okay, yeah? But if you buy a packet of corn chips and the list of ingredients has 17 things in it, all of them you don't know what they are, I don't think you should be eating those. Yes, stick to whole foods. A whole food, plant-based diet full of fresh fruits, legumes, grains is anti-inflammatory. Now, did you hear those words? Fresh fruits. Don't think because you have diabetes, you can't eat fruit because it's got sugar. Fructose is metabolized differently to table sugar. Yes, so fructose does not affect your diabetes like eating gummy worms. Fruit has fiber, it has phytonutrients, it has vitamins and minerals. It is good for you. Of course, speak to your doctor if you're concerned before you go whopping down a huge big fruit salad and nothing else. It's part of a balanced diet. You've got to balance the diet, the fiber with the sugar, with the carbohydrates, with the proteins, with the fats. Get it all balanced and you're good to go. You also need to reduce your weight because obesity is one of the main causes of gluing up that lock where the insulin can't get into the cell. Because what's going on in there? The cell is full of fat and it can't open up so that the glucose can get in. If you empty those cells of their fat, the glucose, it's going to have a party in there with the mitochondria and you are going to be able to get more energy. That's the thing. You're making energy. You wonder why you're tired all the time, why you've got no energy. It's because you're not making any energy because of your diabetes. So reduce your fat. And how do you do that? You reduce your saturated fat. So that means get rid of the animal products. Number one, you reduce your dairy. In fact, get rid of dairy. Dairy is full of saturated fat. No eggs, no oils. If you want fat, eat an avocado. Have a handful of nuts. Put some olives on your salad. You do not need oil. Oil has 4,000 calories per pound, and oil will keep you fat. So get rid of your oil. The other thing you need to do is if you have diabetes and you want to undertake this massive change, you do need to speak to your doctor. You need to tell your doctor, this is what I'm going to do. I've decided to take my health into my own hands, and I would like to change my diabetes from eating a whole foods, plant-based diet. Will you help me? And if your doctor says, no, you can't do that. You need to be on all these medications. There's no cure for diabetes. I urge you, go find yourself another doctor. The science is clear. Whole foods, plant-based eating is a game changer. It will reverse your diabetes if you do it. You can't think about it and then go to KFC. That doesn't work. So go to plantbaseddocs.com and find yourself a diabetes doctor that will help you. It's easy peasy. Well, not easy. It's simple, but it's going to take some work. There are so many diabetes from a whole foods plant-based diet. To pcrm.org and check out their diabetes education materials. They're second to none. Go on to nutritionfacts.org and check out all the information that Dr. Greger gives you about the health of a whole foods plant-based diet. It's all science. It's not made up. I would never tell you anything that could harm you, only stuff that can heal you. So go to your doctor and discuss this with them and get off that medication. Now, if you don't have diabetes, but you're packing on the pounds around the middle, think about this as a warning sign. There are 88 million people in America who are pre-diabetic. Most of them do not know it. Get your HbA1c checked at least once a year, even twice a year if you're worried, and see where it is. If it's in the normal range, just keep doing you. Keep being healthy. If it's elevated, you got to make the changes. Okay, off my soapbox. That was a bit of a rant, but I hope it helped you. Sometimes I just have to rant. Ask me questions, leave your comments. Go to fabuloushealth.net if you want more ranting. No, actually, there's not a lot of ranting. Today was a real rant. If you want more fantastic episodes of this podcast, I can help you become healthy and live your life optimally. Age with grace and vitality. Clear up your skin. Look younger. Get better sleep. Have more energy. All this and more is possible. So just check out the podcast, fabuloushealth.net. If you want to take your health to the next level and you want to lose those pounds, join me on the Quick Road to Fabulous weight loss course. It's 25% off for the next 20 days until the end of November 2021. Just use the code PODCAST. Tomorrow, what are we going to talk about? I haven't worked that out yet. I'll tell you tomorrow. It's going to be very exciting, but we've only got 4 more days to go until I start doing my weekly podcast. And in that weekly podcast, I'm going to be interviewing people. I'm going to be interviewing people who've reversed their diabetes from doing a whole foods plant-based diet. I'm going to be talking to scientists and people who've written fantastic books about how to improve your health and people with all sorts of life experiences. So make sure you keep listening to the Fabulous Health Show. Anyway, I've been rabbiting enough. Have a fabulous day and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.